Hi, I'd like to talk about attachment. This is really important. This is how we connect with others emotionally. Not in a deep, woo-woo, awkward kind of way, but we're all looking for connection with others. We all want friends. We want to connect emotionally, not just being around people. And I'd like to thank Dr. John Townsend, who taught me a lot of this stuff, one of my mentors. And attachment is the ability to connect with others emotionally, have need-based relationships, and to regulate emotions. So I like to go into this handout a little more in depth. This is one of the handouts I use in my workshop series, and you can bring me in to host a workshop series, present for your group, for your church, for your business, for your department. It helps increase performance, it helps increase employee retention, employee satisfaction. And a lot of people say they use a lot of this stuff at work and they see a lot of benefit. They tell me I use it even more in my personal life, and it's really great because it gives them more power and control of their life with their friends and their loved ones. So connection needs emotion, not just logic, not just facts, not just criticisms, complaints, or excuses. A lot of people who are left brain talk about information, and that's fine. Some people are a little bit beyond left brain, maybe a bit on the spectrum, fine. But what we're all looking for, no matter whether we are very emotional or maybe more logical, is connection with others. And to do that, what we do is kind of lower our guard a little bit. We're appropriately vulnerable. Not sharing everything about us, that's actually an attention-getting tactic. But a lot of times I'll hear maybe someone who works in finance or in technology or like cybersecurity, and he'll come home and his wife will say, "How was your day?" And he'll say, "Well, Dylan came in from this one department and he had all these requests, and so I had to get this stuff, and then I wasn't sure about this, and then I had," and she says, "Honey, how was your day?" And he goes, "Oh, okay, yeah. Well, it was a little bit frustrating because I had this guy Dylan come over and," okay, so you see he's able to connect a little bit with his wife and use some feeling words, some emotion words, and we'll talk about that in another video. But what we're wanting is connection with others through emotion, even if it's not super woo-woo, just a little bit of lowering your guard, being a little bit vulnerable. So some indication of problems, someone who isn't doing well with attachment, they don't desire relationships or needing other people. They tend to be self-sufficient and alone. You've heard of the lone wolf. There is a time to go your own way, for sure, and we'll talk about that in another video. But a person who's always by themselves, always isolated, that's an indication of a problem, that they may lack attachment skills. And good news, anybody can grow in this skill. Another indication of problem with attachment is they are unaware of their own feelings or struggle to experience feelings and needs. So maybe someone in the past had a trauma happen to them. Maybe it was a traumatic childhood. Maybe it was something else where they kind of had to lock down, they had to shut down a little bit. They had to close off their emotions for protection, fine. And what we can do is help them to grow beyond that, to get through that, so they can in a healthy way express emotions again and be aware of their own feelings. So again, sometimes people who are very left brain, even a little bit beyond left brain, if they're on the spectrum a little bit, they can a little bit struggle to define what their feelings are. And it may help if they have a friend or a family member say, "Hey, when Dylan came to you from that other department and had all those needs, what was the feeling on that?" And they can maybe even offer some suggestions. Was it exciting? Was it frustrating? Was it aggravating? And that person can kind of pull from some of those emotions and say, "Yeah, maybe that one, maybe not that one." And again, in a workshop series, I can show you how to do this. You'll get really good at it. It's super helpful. You can use it in all areas of your life. Another indication of problems, if someone is having difficulty with attachment, is being overwhelmed by feelings and needs and intimacy. Another problem could be the inability to trust people, to trust God, to trust others. And we need to have appropriate risks with the way we are vulnerable with other people. Again, not sharing everything about yourself. That's just an attention-getting tactic. But just to share a little bit here and there and gain trust and develop trust, and then you learn that you can trust the other person and you can share a little bit more, and they share a little bit more. Another indication of problem with attachment is the tendency to trust only rationality. That person distrusts emotions. They rely on willpower only instead of strong connections with others to function and to solve challenges. It's often great to be with others to solve challenges. A team can do better, or even just a friend running something by a friend. If a person doesn't really want to do that, or if they don't trust others to do that, that can be an indication that they're not attaching well. They're unaware of their own feelings, and they're just wanting to use their own willpower instead of being aware that everyone is an emotional person. Even the very left brain logical person still has very strong emotions. And I know this because they are human, and every human is an emotional person, an emotional creature. Another indication of problems of attachment is the person is more comfortable giving than receiving. The person is more comfortable giving than receiving. And this can be seen a lot with maybe some high-ranking executives, maybe a corporate CEO or a high-ranking manager of a department. They are so good, they have been so good their whole life, their whole career at giving to others, at coaching others, at growing others, pouring in, developing the other person's skills. Yet when someone tries to give to them, they say, "Oh no, I don't need that. No, it's fine." The problem is going on there is that they're afraid of their own emotions. They're afraid that they might be moved a little bit, and someone say, "Oh, that was really great," and they're not really sure what to do with the gratitude, or the pride isn't the right word, but they do feel proud, but they're a little bit leery of expressing that because they're a little bit distrustful of others and of how they connect. Or sometimes someone might say to a person like that, "Hey, how you doing?" And the person says, "I'm great, how are you doing?" Okay, they're throwing it all back onto the other person and not allowing that other person to get into their life a little bit. They're not allowing that person to love on them. So what you can do with this is be grateful for people. And I've seen this, maybe someone is the manager of a department and he's been there for a long time, he's been there for 10 years, and people really like this manager. They really love working for him. He treats people well. So they pull up to get him a watch, they get him a nice gift, and he opens the watch and he's like, "Oh, you guys didn't have to do that. No, I mean, I was just doing my job." And the people or group is gathered around. They're like, "Dude, honor our gift. Be great. We're so glad. What is this?" But imagine how much different it would be if he opened up that box and saw the watch and said, "Oh my goodness, you guys, thank you. This is beautiful. My goodness, this is it is my 10th year anniversary. Wow. I just so appreciate working with each of you. Thank you for this." I'm sure they would all stand around and be clapping and be half crying and thinking, "Oh, we should have gotten him the even bigger one." Okay, they would be grateful because he's being grateful. He's honoring them by honoring their gift, and he's receiving it well. A lot of people who are in positions of authority, they have forgotten how to receive well because they have been so successful at pouring into others. They have given to others and helped develop others so much. So that's another indication that they may be lacking at some attachment abilities, which they can gain or regain if they are comfortable receiving and not just giving all the time. Here's another indication that someone is maybe lacking some attachment skills. They are adequately experiencing deep feelings and needs, but have strong fear of intimacy and choose to remain disconnected to people. Okay, that may be an indication of something else, and we can go into that in another video. The person who is struggling with attachment, they focus more on tasks and activities and is a verbal villain in conversations. So they want to just do things, they want to do tasks, they want to accomplish things. And if people aren't helping them to accomplish stuff, or they don't see much getting done, supposedly, then they kind of just hog the conversation. And we can go into that in another video. Often this person may be very left brain, or again, beyond left brain, a little bit on the spectrum. So they tend to dominate conversations, unaware of how they come across, that they're hogging the conversation, and that can be worked on. And the final bullet point there: unaware of how one comes across to others. The amount of talking, table manners, just what I said in the previous bullet point. When a person is hogging the conversation, it could be that they don't think other people are contributing enough, or they might feel awkward that people aren't contributing enough, and they're trying to fill the space. And there can be a variety of reasons for that. Maybe they're unaware of the vibe of the room. A lot of people can walk into a big room, they might be happy and walk in and realize, "Oh, this room is a little bit tense. I'm going to modify my emotions a bit. I'm going to modify how I come across. I'm going to calm it down a little bit. And it's really important to know how we feel, and it's also very important to know how other people feel. And so picking up on how other people are receiving you is really important. And I say table manners because there's sometimes where people don't understand how they're coming across. Maybe they haven't been trained. That's fine. Or maybe they're unaware. I was at a conference once, and a young lady. This was at a marketing conference, very high-end, very prestigious conference. And then at another table, right before the keynote speech began, there was a young lady in her mid-20s, very nicely dressed, I think represented a good firm, but she was eating like a wolf. And other people at her table were like, what is this? They like almost paused eating. She was unaware of how she came across to others. She wasn't understanding other people's emotions. And there could have been a variety of reasons for that. Maybe she was raised in a home where you had to eat fast. Maybe other kids would take your food. Sometimes that happens in foster care. Or maybe she's unaware about something. It's not like we all have to go to finishing school, but we do need to be aware of how we come across. I once worked at a public relations agency, and we would have some of these clients come in, and we spread out the table in the conference room and put out a nice spread of an elegant dinner with all the forks, all the knives, and the plates and the bread plates, and what each fork meant, and what each knife, what that was used for, making sure they're eating with their elbows in. And this is because a lot of these young tech CEOs in their mid or late 20s, they're going out to dinner with bankers and venture capitalists and private equity people, and they don't understand that they're not coming across well in a elegant dinner setting. They don't realize that, hey, the world isn't just one giant dorm room. We need to move beyond that. We need to come across well so that we can make the good impression on others that we're wanting to make. So that's attachment. It's being aware of our own emotions and being aware of what's in the other person too, how they're receiving us. People can have difficulty regulating emotions when they're overwhelmed by strong or negative feelings. Maybe they're experiencing strong emotions as bad or destructive, and that's not the case. We have strong emotions for a reason. Maybe people have anxiety when having feelings. I think of the consultant. The story is told of a consultant who went to a manufacturing plant, and the consultant was going to touch on a few things, maybe more with maybe not outright stating emotions. And the old guy in the back with the greasy rags, he says, "You're not going to get into that touchy-feely crap, are you?" And this is a big moment, and everybody in the manufacturing floor, on the floor, they all looked up at the consultant to be like, "Well, how are you going to respond to that?" And the consultant said, "I understand that for some people, feelings are touchy. I understand that for some people, early on in life, they were made to feel that their feelings were crap." Okay? And the old guy, he's half trying to hide that he's crying, and everybody else in the room is like, wow, this guy gets it. He's here to help us. And frankly, that old guy in the back probably needed some help on this issue, and it would probably increase performance and increase his management skills if he could connect a little bit better with people and his employees that he supervised. Difficulty regulating emotions also includes rescuing or enabling others in the service of avoiding dealing with negative feelings. We'll talk about this in another video, but some people get busy helping others, picking up a job. A lot of times this happens with an older sibling. There's a lot of younger siblings they've had to take care of. They've had to help out with a lot in the home. And as they get older, they go into the work world or get into a relationship, they're wanting to keep helping, they're wanting to give. And this is a little bit of a diversion tactic so they don't have to deal with their own feelings. And we want to help that person with those so they can grow in attachment and be okay with their feelings and be okay with expressing their feelings and realize they're not going to be judged that much by other people, and they can have a good discussion about how they feel and what the other person is needing. Another difficulty in regulating emotions, bullet point, is rescuing, nope, I already said that one, problems of impulse control. Unmetabolized emotions become acted out instead of being modulated through relationship. We'll talk about this more in another video, but again, it's important that we understand how we're feeling so that we can connect with others. Sometimes when we're in trouble or we're tempted to do something or tempted to go somewhere that we know it isn't good for us, What we really are looking for is attachment and connection with others, and it's important to do that, and we can do that through relationship. Here are some progressive levels of growth. Level 1, it's really important to first be aware of our emotions and needs. Be aware of your emotions and needs. You can identify your own feelings and needs, both positive and negative. You cannot be overwhelmed, that's fine. You can start to move beyond just intellectualizing and superficial conversations. So that's level 1, being aware of your emotions and needs. Level 2 of growing in your attachment skills, expressing emotions and needs. So this is expressing feelings and needs to another person without being overwhelmed. This takes initiative to share feelings and get needs met. And it asks for help and is comfortable being dependent, comfortable with emotional vulnerability. A lot of people, again, like I said, that lone wolf, they want to do it all themselves. They want to be self-sufficient. They don't want to be a burden on other people. And asking for a little bit of help now and then is not being a burden. It's actually a joy when they help others, and asking for help can be a gift to others because they get to help their friend and they get to help you. Level 3, desires need-based friendships, has a desire for need-based friendships and pursues them and can build a life team. My mentor, Dr. John Townsend, he's really big on building a life team. He calls it his own personal board of directors. You have your friends, but you also have some advisors who can help you in different areas of your life. Maybe you have an advisement team that isn't even known. You just go out to coffee with different people now and then and pick their brain and allow them to pick yours. Or maybe you take someone out to lunch and you pick up the tab and say, I really need this advice from you and I appreciate it. You can get people together formally once a year or twice a year. You can get people together on a team, but meet with them individually, whatever you want to do. Level 4 in the growth of attachment skills. Attunes and identifies. In my workshop series, you will get really good at attuning with others. I'm not going to go into it too much here. I want you to have the gift. I want you to go through having the surprise, the revelation of what that is. You're not going to see it coming. I've never had anyone figure it out. I'm going to show you what's going on when people are really talking in a deep way to each other. Again, not in a weird, awkward way. And it's also not one of these, those really cheesy workshops on active listening, whatever that means. So I hear you saying, no, we're not going to do any of that, but you're going to get really good at attuning and at being able to identify what the other person is feeling and how to respond to that in a meaningful way that's not awkward or put on or anything like that. Anyway, attuning and identifying is being aware of the feelings and needs of others and can attune to them with emotional intelligence, finds ways to serve and encourage others, can contain negative feelings of others, and regulate own feelings without being overwhelmed. We'll talk about this in another video on separation. This is called differentiation issues and boundaries. When there's a negative expression or something negative happens or someone else is expressing their negative emotions, we can be there for them, but we don't have to be overwhelmed and get pulled in by that. We can still be our own person. Level 5 on growing in attachment. We are able to talk about how it feels to be in a relationship with the other person and express feelings and thoughts during and about the present time, using emotional intelligence skills, collaborating with others to accomplish larger tasks. This is attachment. We all need attachment. We all want bonding, appropriate bonding emotionally with other people. This is the foundational step in the John Townsend and Henry Cloud character model. This is what I teach in my workshops. If you'd like to bring me in, I can show you this whole systematic process. And if you bring me in for about an hour a week for 8 weeks, I will show your group, your team, how to grow in attachment and all the other areas that are included in this. You will see increased performance. You'll see increased employee satisfaction. You will see increased control and ownership of your life. And you'll be more happy in control of what happens. You'll be a better manager, a better friend, a better spouse, a better buddy. And I look forward to seeing you soon.